And we would like to welcome all of you wonderful car lovers to the C&C Auto Show, and I am Aaron Clements.
I'm John Ryan.
And we are here today to give you some information, some very sweet information on ways to make your car, truck, or SUV safer, to make it more dependable, and to make it last longer for less money and less hassle. And we want to say thank you to each and every one of you that tuned in or logged in, and we appreciate you jumping on board and riding with us on the C&C Auto Show. We want to make sure we buckle those seatbelts. We are here to take those phone calls, and that number is 706-863-5800. You can also email a question to ccautoshow@gmail.com, and that's each and every Saturday morning, 8:05 to 10 Eastern. And you can also watch us live on Facebook and learn more about the show and your car. Or you can also find an auto care facility to take care of your car. Those are Napa Auto Care Centers all around the country. You can get that at ccautoshow.com also. And this show is brought to you in part by those wonderful people at Napa Heating and Cooling Systems and also NGK Spark Plugs. And we have lots of car stuff to talk about on today's show. We got a smoking fun show. Mm-hmm. What will make it a lot better is a lot of phone calls, because we love talking with other people. That's where we get our fun at, and that's what makes it enjoyable to us. And we'll be talking about things that you should do in an emergency. And the reason we do that is a lot of times when we're talking about giving these tips about emergencies, we may initially, when we start talking about them, you not even think about it when we give a little hint or an idea, but they're stored in the back of your mind. And as you're riding down the road, if an emergency situation comes to you or comes your way, you might say, wow, now I know what to do. And you'll do that really quick. So, and also I'm going to mention that even on things that we don't mention, as you're driving or as you're doing, keep in mind what ifs. Mm-hmm. What would I do if this were to happen? What would I do if that were to happen? And again, the reason that's good is because things can come back to you. Would you like to do our favorite thing that we enjoy doing?
Yeah, let's go over to Danny.
I think that's perfect. Hello, Danny, and welcome to the C&C Auto Show. And what can we help you with today?
How you doing?
Perfect. Just right, and we are ready for you.
I got a 1999 Pontiac Grand Am, 2.4, and the track off light and the ABS lights will go off when I, crank it up, and then as soon as I step on the brake or come to a stop, or maybe 30 seconds later, they come on and they don't go off. I've had the sensor in the wheel bearing checked for the ABS and replaced, and nothing seems to make it go off. I was wondering, any suggestions?
Man, we're going to come up with some ideas for you.
Yeah, for sure. Danny, has it ever been scanned as far as to see what code is in the system?
Yes, and it was the sensor for the ABS, which was replaced.
Okay. Do you know which side it was or anything like that?
Left front.
Left front. One thing that's very, very common, as soon as I say this, Aaron, you're going to picture it in your mind. I know you will. Right. On that particular chassis line, of course, even like the Impalas and then some of the Malibus and stuff like that were the same body line with the same control arms. The ABS wiring harness actually bends in almost a 90-degree.
Oh, John Ryan, it's popping in my head, man. I can't get it out now.
You can see it.
It's there. I can see it. I can visualize this thing.
Right. And, Danny, it's in a protective wire loom. That, of course, does just that. It protects the wires from, anything hitting it or anything like that. However, because it's in a protective loom, water gets in there. It gets brittle right in that 90-degree bend. And we've seen that the wires, they look good. They look like normal wires, but you put the slightest bit of tension on there, and the actual copper that's, the wiring, the conductors of the wire have actually separated and broke. And that's why sometimes, on some vehicles, the ABS light will stay off and it'll do okay, and then you hit a bump and it'll come on, or you turn a certain way and it comes on, and then the others are just broke all the time. So if it had a wheel speed sensor code in it for that side, and they most likely probably put a wheel bearing on it.
And it's still there, the same one.
And the code's still there for that same one. look very close at the code, because a lot of times it'll actually be a circuit code rather than a wheel speed performance code. Performance code typically means that the sensor is there, it's seeing it, but it intermittently drops out. That would be a performance code. If it's a wiring code, it would say something like left front wheel speed circuit. So definitely have that system rescanned and looked very closely at that little 90-degree bend where the connector goes up to the wheel bearing.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you one other question. There is an EGS button on there for that tracking system.
Right.
And switch and that go bad and cause that to happen?
Technically it could. The only thing is that if the switch was bad, it normally faults to where you cannot function. Well, basically you cannot turn it off, because what it does is it grounds a circuit to let the computer know that you want that system off, and then of course the lights come on. So if the switch went bad, typically it would ground it, which would, of course, go the other way. So,
and that would be kind of rare. We really don't run
rare.
into that very often. Anything's possible, though.
For sure.
Well, I know when I press the switch, nothing happens.
Right. Now if the light if the light is on, it will not function at all as far as the switch. It will just, of course, remain with the two lights, the warning trouble lights on.
Yeah. So how can I tell if the switch is on or off?
Well, if the system
stays on all the time.
Right, if the system's functioning properly, and there were no trouble lights on there, if you hit the switch itself, it would then kind of say just track off. It wouldn't have ABS and all that, because it's turning that feature of that system off. Right now, it has a trouble code in there, so the car's computer isn't going to allow those systems to function because it doesn't have good information for it to operate off of.
Okay. All right, thank you very much.
All right, Danny, good luck with it.
We do appreciate the phone call. John Ryan, we did not get an answer to the Tech Tip quiz last week.
I think you might be making it too hard.
Yeah, no. This is not too hard. Somebody should be able to get this. And, of course, the winner will receive the huge, life-changing, I answered, the Tech Tip quiz golf shirt.
Yep.
And I get a lot of people ask me during the week, what was the question to the Tech Tip quiz?
No,
Did we get an answer to the Tech Tip quiz? And I'd love to have one of those shirts and all this, but we really and truly, nobody gets one of those shirts unless they've answered it. So if you see a person walking down the street and they're wearing an unanswered the Tech Tip quiz golf shirt, they're special.
That's right.
They
won it. They earned it.
They're special. All right, here's the question. Billy owns a 2007 Chevrolet 1500 truck. Last Friday night, he was heading up a very busy road on a very bad date. That caused him to have an accident. How did it happen? And if someone knows the answer to that, they stand the possibility of winning the Tech Tip quiz prizes, and that would be all the hat, coffee mug, all of the stuff that goes along with it. It's a really good setup.
Yeah, it is.
So, do you know the answer yet, John?
I have some clues for it. Yeah, I believe I do.
Yeah,
the answer to that one.
Yeah, I believe somebody's going to call in and answer that. And if they do, they will be the complete winner. And again, one of the things that we're talking about during the show this time or today is emergency situations. And one of the things that I'll go ahead and mention that is main on the list, or one of the big things, is drive defensively when you're driving. Don't expect that just because a light is red, the other person has the red light, that they're going to stop.
Right. If
they're coming up about the same time, you should go ahead and start. Just wait until you see that they are stopping before you go.
Right.
Don't assume that the person in front of you is not going to veer over in your lane. So do all these things. And it can increase safety time. Well, it's time for a quick break, and when we return, we'll have more fun, and we'll be right back.
My pappy said, son, you're going to drive me to drinking if you don't stop driving that hot rod Lincoln. Have you heard the story of the hot rod race where the Fords and Lincolns was setting the pace?
And we are right back with you on the C&C Auto Show. And most people trust their repair facility to use good quality parts. That's why they take their car to that professional to start with. And that's also why thousands of automotive repair professionals around the country trust Napa to supply those good quality parts such as hoses and belts and just a whole bunch of other stuff. They're good parts that fit, and they have a great warranty. That's my kind of part. That's Napa parts. And if you have a question about your car, truck, or SUV, you give us a call. That number is 706-863-5800. That's Saturday mornings, 8:05 to 10 Eastern Time. And here is the answer to an uh-oh moment. Let's say, John Ryan, what would you do if you were just riding down the road and the accelerator sticks on the car that you're driving?
Put it in neutral.
Put it in neutral. Well, yeah. I probably would do. I would do one thing first, I believe.
Try and shut it off.
No, I would probably just kind of pat the gas one time just to find out.
Yeah.
That more than likely won't repair it, because so many times the reason a gas pedal sticks is not because of something mechanical on the car. It's because something is wedged up under
Something is mechanically wedged.
That extra pair of shoes that you had when you put on brakes earlier slid under the gas pedal, or that piece of floor mat that you got under there that slid forward, and it's wedging over. So a lot of times that won't work, but then after that I would do the same thing. I would shift it into neutral. I would try to get over to the side of the road.
Right.
I wouldn't cut it off quite yet, even though the engine would be revving up.
Yeah.
But I would, because I wouldn't want to lose my power steering.
Sure.
But get over to the side of the road. But the main thing is everyone should keep in mind ideas of what they would do if it were to happen to them.
That's right.
And what would we do if we were going to the calls right now?
We would be going to Robert.
Oh, man, that is perfect. Hello, Robert, and welcome to the C&C Auto Show. And what can we help you with?
Well, good morning. I'd like to try the tech tip quiz, please.
Oh, you are the man. We're going to have to put you up on stage first, though. Okay, Robert, you are all over it. What is the answer to our tech tip quiz?
Well, I think the bad date that he had was on his tires. I think he had tires that were too old for him and had expired and were no longer safe.
Now, Robert, do you really think that we would be that sneaky to come up with something so dubious as to talk about a date code as being a bad date?
Yes,
You're right.
Yes.
We would. You're the winner, Robert. This will change you, man. This is big. But those people clapping there, they're not very.
That's those person.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, you're right. The bad date was the date code on his tires, and the last four digits of the vehicle DOT code is the week and the year that tire was born. Billy's date code was 4807, which that means it was more than likely the original tires. And even though the truck really didn't have that many miles, with those trucks being that old, that puts them right at 10 years old.
Yeah,
or
borrowed
more.
time, big time.
Yeah, so that means that the tire was born on the 48th week of 2007, putting it over 10 years old, and the tire separated on the inside. It went bloop, 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 boom, and he slid over and hit a pole. Now, luckily, Billy and his real date were not injured. They were okay. Everything was fine. But I promise you that didn't put a good impression on his first time he had went out with the girl.
Yeah.
And boom, his truck hits the pole. She was not impressed.
As far as I know, he made her change the tire.
So if you want to keep your girlfriend, don't let your tires get too old. That's the main thing we're trying to say. and Robert, we're also trying to say that you are a tech tip quiz winner. Yeah,
Okay, tell you what, guys. I've won numerous times before, so why don't you donate that package to someone else that's deserving?
Well, we'll find, if someone calls in and says they feel like they should have that package, and they want to do that, we will donate it to the next person there on there. But
You'll just have to sign some papers first.
Yeah. But
tax write-offs.
But the big thing is, don't try to sell those other ones on anything like eBay or anything like that, because we monitor all of it.
I wear them all the time, Aaron.
Thank you very much, Robert. We do appreciate the call and do appreciate you being a winner on the C&C Auto Show. And we are going to mention a few things that we would mention to do in emergency situations. We're also taking phone calls, number 706-863-5800 if you have a question about your car, truck, or SUV. Now, one of the things that you want to be prepared for different emergencies also.
Yeah.
And one of the things that it's a good idea to be prepared for is any kind of, like even if you were to cut your finger or something happen, or if you was to see somebody injured on the side of the road that you want to be able to help.
Lend a hand, yeah.
It's a good idea to have a basic emergency kit in your car.
Right.
It's great to have some rubber gloves that you can put on. And it's good to have some gauze and things like that you could help with any kind of injuries that you might see. Things like that can be very, very helpful in the event of any kind of problem that you might have. One of the other things that, it's time to take a quick break. So
Almost time for a quick break.
Almost time for a quick break. We'll have time to mention this. What would you do if you were going down the road and you felt like your vehicle was starting to skid?
Oh, was it?
Kind of skid sideways.
Skid sideways.
Yeah.
The best thing we would do is kind of like lightly apply the brakes. Don't just slam on the brakes. Kind of let the ABS take over.
Yeah, exactly. Don't slam on the brakes. Let off the gas, and it'll tend to straighten a little bit. But resist the temptation on just locking up the brakes, because if you do, that would give forward momentum, and that would make the situation a good bit worse than that when you do it. So you want to be very careful in that skidding situation. And, of course, some vehicles have anti-skid systems on them, and many times that can take over. But also think to yourself what you would do if you were in a skid-type situation, and then that way you'll be ready.
Prepared for it.
Yeah, prepared for that if you do. And we need to take a real quick break, and when we return, we will have Dominic with his Tailgate Talk. That and more as soon as we return with the C&C Auto Show. Mustang Sally. All right, we would like to welcome you back to the C&C Auto Show.
And apologize.
Yes. And if you have a question about your car, truck, or SUV, you just give us a call. That's between 8:05 and 10 Eastern on any Saturday morning that you might have from anywhere that you may be. And again, that number 706-863-5800. And it is time for Dominic's Tailgate Talk. What we got, Dominic?
The future of autonomous vehicles has suffered multiple major setbacks recently.
Yes, they did.
I'm sure everybody by now is familiar with the Uber Volvo that struck and killed a pedestrian in Arizona. Recent investigations into that accident have revealed that the anti-collision technology may have been disabled. The company that makes the processors for the system ran some tests of their own using the video footage from the vehicle, and said that their system was able to detect the pedestrian about a second before the impact occurred, which still doesn't give you enough time to really react to it, especially being a full-size Volvo SUV, but it's still better than not reacting.
Not good to disconnect stuff, and that's if it was disconnected, because from what I understand, they're waiting until the full investigation before they say anything.
Right.
But that's very, very sad for the person's family that something like that happened, and it's very sad for the technical side of the automotive industry, because that is going to be a major setback. And I guess that's we learn from a lot of terrible things, and there's no doubt there'll be a lot of lessons learned on this deal.
For sure.
There's certain things that you have to prepare for, and some manufacturers of different systems like that are saying theirs would not have occurred with theirs. Some say that theirs still needs some work. So hope that they find all the bugs in the system and get everything worked out. It's turning into cars are actually more software, and that's the main thing that technicians are going through also. Automotive technicians are more and more inclined to repair vehicles by using software updates or reprogramming procedures and different things that has to be done.
Yeah.
And of course, there are certain things that has to function properly
Right.
before the vehicle can be safe to run in certain modes like this.
Right.
So I'm sure there'll be a lot more talk to come on that part.
Yeah, and until then, there was another incident in San Francisco that also just happened, where what would be the driver of a autonomous vehicle was given a ticket by the San Francisco Police Department after their vehicle failed to yield to a pedestrian in a crosswalk. Now, according to the company that made that one, which is a different one, it's not Uber. It's I believe this one was Cruise, which, if I remember right, that's part of General Motors. Their vehicle, according to their data, maintained a distance of 11 feet from the pedestrian, but according to the San Francisco Police Department, it still cut the pedestrian off. So the spokeswoman for the San Francisco Police Department said that the driver, quote unquote driver of the vehicle, is still responsible for the vehicle, whether they're driving it or it's driving itself.
Yes, there will be a lot of things, a lot of issues to do with liability concern on as we move more and more into autonomous cars.
That's right. Yeah.
And it's going to be very interesting to see how a lot of things go and what the future holds for all these things. Okay, we are also is that the tailgate talk?
Yep, I'm packing up and getting out of here. Let y'all get back to it.
All right. All right, fantastic, and we do appreciate that. Okay, one of the things that we're talking about emergency situations.
Right.
Here's one thing a lot of people really don't think that much about, but you have a lot of cars coming towards you as you're driving down the road. Let's say you're on either a 2-lane or a lane that's not separated by anything.
Right.
All it would take is one person not paying attention and bending down to pick up something off the floor, and for them to veer over into your lane, which does happen. But the big thing that we need to be prepared for is what would we do if that was to happen? And of course, the number one thing is don't text and drive yourself.
Right.
And don't take your eyes off the road for any length of time if you can help it at all. And of course, that includes bending down to pick something up. But let's say that if you're going down the road and the other person does and comes over to your lane, what would you do?
The best thing, it kind of depends on the situation and the road that you're driving on. For me, of course, would be obviously try to avoid them, but not necessarily swerving, because, of course, obviously you could run off the road and hit a tree or something like that, or veer onto the other side and the oncoming traffic. So the best thing is to stop the vehicle as fast as possible, but also avoid the car that's coming at you. So it's a little bit of a guessing game.
Yeah, a lot of times you really don't have time to completely avoid. But, I take that back. You can avoid, but you're going to be in some type of accident. But, of course, what you want to do is try to choose the thing that would be the least amount of damage or injuries. And, of course, a head-on is terrible.
Sure.
If there's a way to avoid a head-on, a field with a lot of grass in it, or even small trees can be better than hitting someone head-on.
Right.
But you have to make all these decisions fast, and I wouldn't want to be the one to tell somebody what they should do in that situation. The only thing we want to do right now is let people know that they should think about things like that. What would I do? And if you think that doing some reading and things like that may be helpful, go to Google and do some Google and saying what do they recommend doing at this type situation, and then that way at least you have some ideas in the back of your head when that situation comes, because having some knowledge is better than no knowledge at all on a situation like that. Okay, now again, we're taking phone calls, 706-863-5800. That's Saturday mornings, 8:05 to 10 Eastern time, and we are talking about emergency type situations. And one of the things that it would be great to talk a little bit about is emergency stops.
Right.
What does a car feel like when the anti-lock brake system activates? What's it feel like to be in a panic stop? Some people's never really had to do it.
Yeah, and it scares them when it happens.
It does, and I think that a lot of people should practice that and know what it feels like, especially younger drivers. They've been in their car and they've never had to do an emergency stop. And if they feel an anti-lock brake system activate or something happens,
they may completely let off.
Exactly.
Or something like
they,
that.
they may think something's wrong with the brakes and let off the brakes and have it. So I think that everyone should at least one time find a open parking lot, maybe on a little bit of a rainy day where the parking lot's a little bit wet.
I always say gravel parking lot.
Yeah, a gravel parking lot's good. And get up some speed and just slam on brakes and feel the anti-lock brake system activate. It'll be a buzzing type noise. You'll feel the pedal will vibrate kind of quickly.
And fade a little bit.
And fade down. It'll go down just a little bit.
Depends how long the stop is.
Yeah, and what the anti-lock brake system is doing is, let's say that you're slamming on brakes and the right front wheel starts to lock up. It does not have the same traction as the others, and it locks. Well, the computer senses that it's locked, and it releases pressure to that wheel so that you regain your steering.
Yep.
So if you stop in a car without anti-lock brakes, you would kind of ease on the brake, and then you'd let off, and you'd ease on the brake again.
Almost
because you don't want them. Yeah, you don't want them to lock up. But if you have a vehicle with anti-lock brakes, you can just keep steady pressure on the brake pedal. Let it do its thing. Let it wiggle and do all its humming noises and all the things it's doing.
Yeah.
And you will still have your steering.
Right.
If the anti-lock brake is working, functioning properly.
Sure.
And we've had some phone calls about some anti-lock brake lights on. Mm-hmm. Well, what that means is that in that emergency stop, that anti-lock brake system would not be functioning.
Yeah, you wouldn't have any of those symptoms.
Yeah, don't depend on it. And you don't want to do anything to cover that light up or make it go away, because if it's not going to work, you would want to know it.
Right.
You would want to know that, hey, I have to be careful with my brake pedal and try to avoid
give
a
it
lock
extra little distance in the rain and that kind of stuff.
Exactly. Do the things you want to do to let you know that the anti-lock brake. Your regular brakes will be the same.
Exactly.
You just would not have the locking up part of it there, or the anti-lock brake capability to work with that. Okay, we are just about out of time for this segment. We'll be coming back shortly with more information about emergency type situation. Be looking for phone calls. Number 706-863-5800. Saturday mornings 8:05 to 10. Give us a call, and we will be right back after these messages.
Thought twice before I hauled a Barbie doll bed for the girl next door. She tried to pay me with a kiss, and I began to understand there's something women like about a pickup man.
And we do welcome you back to the C&C Auto Show. Your spark plugs are one of the most important parts of the ignition system. Excessive wear or inferior plugs can cause an expensive domino effect to go throughout your car's ignition and computer system. And that's why we use the best plugs available, and that's NGK spark plugs. They're built to specs, and they're also built to last. And if your engine were to overheat in heavy traffic, John Ryan, what do you think? What would you do?
If it was heavy traffic, let's see. The best thing would be cut it off.
If you could, but you're in traffic. I mean, we're talking
standstill traffic.
Yeah, we're talking about 285, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and a wreck 5 miles down the road, and traffic is backed up. And you're right there in the middle.
So are we just stuck? We're just not moving at all.
You got to figure out what to do. What are we going to do, man?
Yeah, if it's a standstill, I'm gonna cut it off. If we're just barely creeping, I'm gonna hope for downhill and put it in neutral and shut it off.
But either way, trying to get over to the side of the road.
Right.
You're exactly right, and that's what we want to do. And now, I still am not going to say it makes a major difference, but I guess it would make some difference. And this is something from but you got to figure that cars now, the water is flowing through the heater core no matter what.
Right.
Now, I guess if you were to cut the heater on, and the fan is on high, it would take a little bit of heat away from the motor.
All you're going to be is really hot and annoyed that it's overheating now.
Yeah, but it does help some.
I mean, I wouldn't.
Slight amount.
It's interesting though, because years ago it was always turn AC off, but sometimes, depending on what kind of cooling fan setup it has, if the AC runs, it shuts or turns both cooling fans on, which can actually cool it down.
Yeah.
So it really, that kind of depends. I don't want to say for sure that, it'd be better to turn it on, but it really depends which system you have.
And either way, the faster you can cut the vehicle off, the better. Now, safety is number one. You want to be safe with whatever you do.
Yeah.
But the faster you can get it cut off, vehicles are made better than they've ever been made before. They last longer than ever before. But I promise you, they do not like to run hot.
No.
If they get hot, you can do
Run hot
damage.
or low on oil.
Yeah, you can do damage. But also, number one thing that I do want to mention in with this tip, if your car does run hot, you do get off on the side of the road and you are able to cut it off, do not try to take that cap off, that radiator cap, on a hot engine, because that coolant is roughly anywhere, by then it's probably 225 to 250 degrees.
Yeah.
And that water will scald you and cause some terrible burning.
And that ambulance will have the same hard time trying to get to you in that
yes,
traffic.
and traffic's heavy. It's going to have a hard time getting to you. It'll be a mess. Ready to go to the calls?
Yeah, let's go to Frank.
Fantastic. Frank, welcome to the C&C Auto Show, and what can we help you with?
Yeah, hi. I have a 2003 Ford F-150, and whenever I start it up, the RPMs, they go real high, then they come down, and it just keeps going up and down, up and down. Sometimes it takes 20 to 30 minutes before I could actually put it in gear and pull out.
Wow.
You have any idea what that
That'll
could be?
put you late for an appointment.
Yeah, it sure would.
Yeah, maybe. What I say, 20, 30 minutes? I mean 20, 30 seconds.
Oh, okay.
20 seconds. Maybe.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that'll be a little
sorry.
bit better.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Frank, is the check engine light on or anything like that?
No.
So no check engine light. If the check engine light was on, I would say he has a vacuum leak because of how notorious those are for vacuum leaks. But being that it's going up and down too, one of the things that can cause that is there's an idle speed motor on that particular engine. And what it does, it has, of course, a motor that controls a valve that allows air to bypass the throttle body. So it's called the idle circuit. And what it does, the computer looks at it, sees that you just cranked it up, it's cold, so it adjusts the idle, basically, depending on what the situation is with the vehicle, if it's hot, cold, and, how long it's going to idle. And it actually adjusts the valve to bypass the air going through the throttle body, basically. And if that valve gets carbon on it, of course, the valve doesn't know where the fully seat is, and it actually responds a lot slower than, say, a clean one. So that's a possibility of it going up and down.
It's playing catch-up all the time.
It's playing catch-up all the time because it's got a lot of carbon buildup on it. That's one scenario. And then, of course, the other scenario would be if the valve just failed itself, and there's a spring in there that actually returns the valve to idle position. The motor could be getting weak. It could be operating slower than normal. So it's most likely carbon buildup, just simply because every vehicle that runs today's fuel, of course, obviously has carbon buildup. So that would be the first.
Of course, that's where a BG induction service comes in and does
exactly.
really good. That's a great service. It'll get that carbon out of the engine and also prevent that type issue from coming up again. Correct me if I'm wrong, John Ryan, but I think two routes he could go here. He could have diagnostics run on the car, and he could test all the things on there and be able to say, yes, this is definitely what all's going on.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, he's going to need an induction service no matter what.
Yeah, I
mean,
agree with that.
even if they found the idle air control bad, even if they found something else bad, either way, unless it's been done, you would need an induction
Yeah,
service.
because it's more of a maintenance thing. Than
I would
anything.
consider getting an induction service first and seeing if that does the trick. If it does, then you'll save all the diagnostic money and the other things that you might have to have done. Over.
All right, great. Sounds good. I'll bring it in to the shop Monday. I'll make an appointment over there on Bel Air Road. I appreciate your help.
Hey, Frank, we really appreciate your call very much. John Ryan, want to go to another caller?
Yeah, next up's Ron.
Let's do it. Hello, Ron. Welcome to the show, and what can we help you with?
Hey, thank you, guys. I just got a quick question. Newer cars now, they tend to, the heater tends to start working a lot quicker
Yes.
than we used to a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
We would have to go several miles for the heat to start coming out. But I can go about a block down the street. What has changed to for that to happen. It's a good thing, but I just couldn't figure out how they heat up so quick.
That's a really quick question, and John Ryan will be giving some ideas on why, but I'm gonna how. But I'm going to mention why they did that. They found out that a huge amount of the bad emissions were being emitted into the atmosphere due to an inefficient engine. A cold engine does not burn efficiently, so you got a lot more unused fuel with hydrocarbons, carbon monoxide going into the atmosphere. So they pretty much had to do a lot of that stuff to get the engine running efficiently as quickly as possible.
Right.
I mentioned how, John Ryan.
Yeah, basically the answer would be technology, of course, the technology behind thermostats, and then a lot of it has to do with the circulation and how that warm coolant that's in the block, is made to go to the heater core first and then to the radiator. Years ago, of course, it was just obviously closed loop system to where it would flow out the water pump through the radiator back in the heater core, and you had to wait a long time before the heat would ever get there. Now they're restricting the coolant to stay in the engine longer. So that, of course, you have heat, but really and truthfully, it's kind of a win-win. It's more for emissions than it is for heat. So that's kind of how it's
And then along with that, engines are running much warmer than they used to. It used to be 180-degree thermostat was normal. Now more like 195 is normal, sometimes
There's
even more.
198s,
Yeah, some even more. Great question, though.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ron. And it is time to close out. We're on E now, and so we will close this hour out, and we will be back with more of the C&C Auto Show before you know it.
That's right.
Be right back. And we would like to welcome all of you car lovers to the C&C Auto Show. And the C&C Auto Show is a syndicated call and talk radio show, but it's also done in a repair facility.
Yep.
An actual repair facility that we transmit out of. And that's the reason we're able to do so many weird things while we're here. We have Nerf gun fights. We have we do a lot of crazy stuff during the breaks, and we just have a good time.
And sometimes your eye gets shot out.
Yes, and sometimes the producer gets shot. And my name is Aaron Clements.
I'm John Ryan.
And our goal is to, along with having a good time, we want to give you some information on your car, truck, or SUV that'll make it safer, more dependable, and to make it last longer for less money and less hassle. And we want to say thank you to each and every one of you that tuned in or logged in. We really appreciate you jumping on board and riding with us in the C&C Auto Show. And we are here to take your phone calls. And that number, 706-863-5800. You can send a question to ccautoshow@gmail.com. That's all on Saturday mornings, 8:05 to 10 Eastern. And you can also watch us live on Facebook, and that's at the C&C Auto Show on Facebook. And you can also find a repair facility at Napa, a Napa Auto Care repair facility at ccautoshow.com. And this show is brought to you in part by Napa Heating and Cooling Systems and also NGK Spark Plugs. They are great products, both of them. And John Ryan, are we ready?
Yeah, man.
Okay, we are ready to crank this bad boy up. And the show is topped off with some great information. We're talking about some emergency driving type situations that someone might have. We'll also have a tech tip quiz. We did get an answer to our tech tip quiz that was a holdover on a previous show. So this will be a sparkling, brand new tech tip quiz that we'll have coming up. And as a matter of fact, we might go ahead and do the tech tip quiz.
Yeah, I say go ahead and do it, Aaron.
Okay. And if you are the winner, you will receive a prize package that includes a hat or coffee mug and an I Answered the C&C Auto Show golf shirt that we have. Okay, Tony is an ASE certified automotive technician, and he was working on a 2004 Buick LeSabre, which was parked inside the shop. The car had a lien code, and he could not find out why. He decided to take a smoke break. Even though you cannot smoke cigarettes in the building, Tony found out what was wrong during the smoke break. What was it, and what did he find out? If someone knows the answer to that, all they have to do is give us a call. And again, that's 706-863-5800. And we are talking about emergency type situations that someone might have. And I think we've covered different things, like if your accelerator sticks, if you have a problem with your overheating.
Yeah, if you get into a panic situation where it's skidding.
Yeah, we mentioned in a previous show about having an emergency kit in your vehicle.
Right.
That's always a good thing. And, of course, like I mentioned, we did mention the panic stop real closely before. But one of the things we want to mention is different warning lights that might come on the car.
Right.
Now, before we talk about different warning lights, I want to mention that if you go to ccautoshow.com, you will see there's a button there will tell you, show a picture of all the warning lights,
right,
and it'll tell you what each one of them does. Now, of course, you may want to also refer to your owner's manual if you have a specific type deal, but don't hesitate to go to ccautoshow.com and look over those warning lights so you'll have a rough idea what some of them are. The most questioned ones, people look at the one with the squiggly lines, and they always wonder what that one is. Well, you can find the answer to all of those questions and what each light means at ccautoshow.com. Ready to go to the calls?
Yep, let's go over to John.
Right, fantastic. Hello, John, and welcome to the C&C Auto Show, and what can we help you with?
Good morning, Aaron. I got the answer to the tech tip.
Oh, we are ready. What is the answer to the tech tip? Okay, we are ready. And what is it?
Okay, he didn't smoke a cigarette. He used your smoke machine to put on the engine, and he found a vacuum leak in there.
A smoke machine. What is a smoke machine, John?
Oh, it's that thing you put in. I'm not exactly sure. It puts smoke inside the engine, and you can tell where leaks and stuff are.
Yeah. John, you are exactly right. It used to be when someone suspected that something had a vacuum leak, this was many, many, many years ago, they would have to go out and find a person that smoked.
Yep.
And that person would blow cigarette smoke down inside the vacuum line. And then they would actually see where it comes out. Well, that seemed like a really good idea to somebody, and they said, well, why don't we make a smoke machine?
Yeah.
And so that is a big part of the automotive industry now is having a smoke machine so that you can detect a leak in a system.
It's a very useful tool, yeah.
About what pressure do you think it puts the smoke out in?
It's under 15 psi. Well, you can regulate it all the way up to 15 psi, but it's real low pressure. I want to say like 5 psi is what it's regulated to.
And where smoke machines really come in good is, of course, in 1995, the federal government said that they wanted to make sure that gas fumes or fuel vapors were not emitted into the atmosphere, so they come out with the EVAP system. And the EVAP system actually seals off the fuel tank and lets the vapors go into a charcoal canister, and then under certain conditions, the engine reburns those fumes. Well, if that system gets a leak in it, the federal government also said you have to be able to warn the driver that your EVAP system has a leak.
Monitored system.
And so if it gets a leak, it will cause the check engine light to come on. So that's a big part of automotive repair is when a light comes on for an EVAP code.
Right.
And, of course, most EVAP codes are checked with a smoke machine.
But we use it for a lot of things, even exhaust leaks.
Oh,
we can put it in the tailpipe and, of course, put smoke that way. And, of course, it shows any kind
intake
of gasket,
manifolds. A lot of times we find intake manifolds that are leaking.
Right.
Just a whole lot of things. So, John, you are absolutely right, and that did give us a little bit of a situation or a chance to talk about what the smoke machine does. So that way, if someone else is having their car diagnostic test run and they say, ma'am or sir, I need to put this on the smoke machine, then they'll know what it is when they do that. And
well, I'll probably see you Tuesday or Wednesday.
All right. Not for the smoke machine, though, unless you need that. All right. Well, John, thank you very much for answering the Tech Tip quiz.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, the number to call is 706-863-5800. If you have a question about your car, truck, or SUV, we are ready to answer it. If you're having a little rattle in the car or a little bearing noise or something along those lines, we can help. And a lot of times people may have been told that they may need some type of flush service.
Yeah.
Let's say the transmission flush. And sometimes people will wonder, well, how would I know if I need a flush service? On the, let's say the transmission, let's use that for an example.
Right.
Well, there's two different ways. Sometimes they come due. Sometimes the factory recommends doing a flush service. on a transmission. Sometimes it might be 30, sometimes it might be 50, sometimes it might be 60. But when it's recommended, that would be a time that I would recommend doing it.
Yeah.
Other times, a technician, they are able to look at the fluid. And people can do this themselves if they're wondering about their transmission. Now, this is on a vehicle with a dipstick on it.
Mm-hmm.
They can actually pull the dipstick out and just let a little bit of the transmission fluid either go on a white Kleenex or on their
paper
finger.
towel.
And if it's discolored, it should be sort of a bright red type color. But if it is discolored and kind of darker looking, and especially if it has sort of a burnt smell,
right,
then it is time to do a transmission flush. And doing that without question will make the transmission last longer.
And the sooner the better, too.
Because you're getting all the particles out, and when fluid has that burnt smell, it loses its ability to lubricate.
Right.
So having that fresh fluid in there lubricates better, and plus you don't have all those little metal particles floating around. Okay, it is time to take a real quick break, and when we return, we'll have more tips about cars, but also we'll have more tips about emergency situations. That and more as soon as we return with the C&C Auto Show.
Now his guitar's Cadillac, hillbilly music, lonely, lonely streets I call home.
And we are right back with you on the C&C Auto Show. And this segment is brought to you in part by Napa. We trust Napa heating and cooling system products, and you should trust them also. They are great parts, fit well, been using them for years and years and years, and love using them. Got a great warranty, too. Just wonderful parts to work with, and that's why when the guys here at the shop, we need something like that, like a Napa hose or a Napa belt.
Yeah.
We feel good about it, that
That's
we're
right.
putting something really good on someone's car. Okay, the number to call, 706-863-5800. That's Saturday mornings, 8:05 to 10 Eastern Time.
Yeah, I've got a emergency driving situation for you.
All right, what is it?
I mean,
Lay it
I'm
on me.
gonna give you a car just so you can kind of put it in your mind.
All right.
A little bit older.
Uh-huh.
It's a 98 Honda Civic.
Uh-huh.
And you're in a big, town on an interstate.
Yeah.
And you're just driving down the road and just boom, it shuts off like somebody pulled the key out of it.
Oh.
And so you're coasting. You of course got to get it to the side of the road, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But you're in traffic, so it's a little bit difficult. So you finally get it to the road,
Yeah.
to the side of the road, and you try and crank it back up, and it's just spinning as fast as it can, freewheeling.
Yeah.
What do you think happened?
Timing belt?
Yep.
Yeah.
So what are you gonna do?
If the timing belt broke, I think you are you're dead in the water right
Yeah.
there. I mean, you're not going to repair a timing belt on the side of the road.
Right.
So I would say the next step would be cut the emergency flashers on.
I'll go with that.
Say a quick prayer.
Yep.
And go ahead and after all of that, then I believe I would call a tow truck.
You think it's better to sit in the car or out of the car?
That is that's a very, very good question. I lean towards saying, if possible, get away from the car.
I do too. A lot of people say, well, I want to be comfortable. Well, typically, of course, the car's not running, so it's not like you're going to be sitting in AC. So it'll probably be hot or cold, whichever it is. So it's probably better to sit outside of the vehicle in a safe spot myself.
And it kind of depends on how far. If you can get really off the road real good, you might be okay. But many accidents happen because someone's riding down the interstate and they just happen to veer off to the
Just a
side. They're
little
not
bit, yeah.
looking. And that's the reason many times a car can be broke down on the side of the road and get creamed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I would say in many cases, try to get away from the car if you can.
Right.
Yeah.
Or even call, somebody that could possibly be there faster than the tow truck to get at least you away and off, from the vehicle. Maybe leave the key in the vehicle, being that it can't run anyway. So,
but definitely have as much visibility items as you can, flashers and things like that. And when you and if you do get out of your vehicle, get out and stay on the other side of the vehicle.
Yeah.
At very minimum. So you don't want to stand with close to the side with the traffic, and stand more to the side of the vehicle and not the back of the vehicle.
Exactly.
Also, and that would increase you. But the main thing, above all else, on all of these things that we're talking about, as far as if you were to break down going down the road, if you were to need a panic stop, if you need avoid those situations. Try to keep them from happening to start with.
And of course, that situation could have been avoided by, assuming that it obviously went over the timing belt interval, and that's the reason why the belt broke. But of course, had you have done that belt, then you wouldn't be in that situation.
Now, I'll ask you a quick one, and you can be thinking about it.
Okay.
And we'll go to the phones first.
Okay.
But then think about it, and it might even end up being when we return from the break when we actually start talking about this.
Okay.
But what do you do if you have road rage? Let's say that you accidentally move over a little bit and somebody gets mad with you. Next thing you look over there and they're telling you number one and hitting their dash. They're a total nutcase.
Right.
Then we'll talk about what to do when we get back from the calls.
That sounds good.
All right, where are we going?
Oh, not actually sure yet. Let's just put one on there.
Okay. Ron, welcome to the C&C Auto Show, and what can we help you with?
Happy Easter, fellas.
And happy Easter to you.
Look, I'm thinking about buying a new battery for my car.
Mm-hmm.
Should I ask for maybe demand the freshest battery they have, or if they give you a battery, say that's a year old, is it okay to accept it and put it in the vehicle?
Ron, where are you buying this battery? Are you going to Napa?
Yeah.
That's one thing that we like about Napa's. On the shelf, they actually have a charging system, including even in our installer, where, obviously they outfit us with batteries, and they come with a huge charging device that, of course, keeps the surface charge up on the battery. One cool thing is, this rarely happens at an automotive shop, but like you said, if the battery's a year old, they actually recycle those batteries. They actually have a, what do you call that program, Aaron, where they turn them over?
A swap program.
Swap program. There you go. Ron, I don't know specifically the time frame, but, rarely do we see a battery over 6 months old, of course, because we sell so many of them. And same with the parts store. Rarely, if it's a common car, those batteries are in and out of there probably every week. If it's a specialty battery or something like that, it may have a little bit of a shelf life, but rarely do you have to worry about that anymore.
And Ron, what we recommend doing is buy from a place that sells a lot of batteries, whether you get a Napa battery or a different type battery. Even if it's a Duracell battery, you want to buy from more of a high volume place that's selling a fair amount.
Not like a mattress store that sells batteries.
And I do that with fuel. I love to support the smaller businesses and all of that, but I'm a little hesitant on stopping in a real small town and buying gas at a station that probably don't sell very much fuel because you worry about moisture building up.
Right.
Same way with batteries. I don't want to buy it from a little store that don't sell many batteries and I see dust on the package. But you'll find that places like Napa, they're fairly new.
Well, you say that, but my brother, the reason I needed one, because my brother had to go ahead and buy one first, and he bought it from the Napa in Thompson, and the date that was on it was 3/17.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
And he went ahead and bought it, and I was kind of, caught, thinking whether maybe it was something you might want to take back and ask for a newer
Well, you
battery.
still have the same warranty, but I agree. I believe I would have asked for a little bit newer one. I would have said, hey, do you have one with a newer date code? Because I'm kind of like you. I like them to be 6 months or even possibly even a year, but when you get in past that, I'm a little hesitant.
Ron, maybe that's where all the older ones go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, John Ryan, you were asking that question about whether it's safer to stay in the car or out of the car.
Yeah, what do you think, Ron?
I lived for a good while in New Orleans, and I went across the lake a lot in the Lake Pontchartrain, and on the causeway, there's no emergency lane, and there's constantly people breaking down, and they done a public service announcement asking people that if they did break down, the safest thing to do is to get out of the car and walk rearward, back towards where the traffic's coming from, at least 100 yards, and then start cautioning people or, give them the slow down signal. And
hey, Ron, can you hold 1 second? Ron's going to hold for us just 1 second, and we're going to be right back. We've got to take a real quick break. Be right back.
I've been driving all night, my hands wet on the wheel. There's a voice in my head that drives my heel. It's my baby calling, says
And we are pulling into fourth gear and talking with Ron. Ron was telling us about New Orleans and how they didn't have a safety lane to get in. Ron, what were you saying about what you do if you don't have a safety lane?
Yeah, I know you said they did a study.
Yeah, well, the safety commission there advised people that if they did break down on the causeway, to exit the vehicle, have everybody out of the vehicle, and walk rearward up back towards the traffic at least 100 yards, and caution people by giving them a slow down hand signal.
Or tell them they're number one.
I'm sorry.
Or tell them they're number one.
Yeah. I'd be cautious. They'd hear me because I'd be screaming.
Well, you know what was surprising to me? It happened to me once. I had broke down on the causeway, and I'd done just that. And I saw the people coming at me. This was I was on a fishing trip at that time, and it was in the middle of the day. It wasn't a lot of traffic. But the older drivers that I saw coming, they didn't see my vehicle, the rear of that boat, until they got right up on it. And a lot of it, I think, is just vision.
Yeah.
People don't get their eyes checked enough and wear the proper glasses to see what's ahead of them.
Well, Ron, you know they had the old cartoon Bugs Bunny there, and the guy said, "Say your prayers, rabbit." That's about all you can do.
I've seen it before. I used to later on. I lived in Mandeville, and I could see the causeway from the distance where I lived, and you could see. There was one night there was a fireball on the causeway,
Wow.
and it was from a rear-end collision.
Wow.
Thank goodness no one was killed, but it can happen. It can happen so quick you don't have time to respond. Guys, I wanted to ask you one last question. Why am I seeing this fluctuation in gas lately? It'll jump up at least 10 cents at the Circle K stores that I'm talking about, the Shell stores.
Yes.
And then a few days later, it'll go back down a dime and then back up.
You know, Ron, I had that same question because when I got gas this morning, I stopped by my little Mazda.
Yeah.
I put gas in. Of course, it don't hold much anyway, so it's not a big, $1.40. Wasn't a big deal. But, I mean, the thing is, it was like $2.53.
Yeah.
And it had been being like $2.25, $2.30.
It was $2.29 Thursday.
So, Ron, that is a good question. We're going to put our entire reference department called Dominic on that case, and he will find out, and he'll try to find out before the end of the show why the gas prices are spiking up a little bit.
And why is it that even in that, Aaron, the fact that they talk about summer blend and winter blend, is that smoke up our legs, or is it?
Well, not actually. They say a lot of that has to do. Well, a lot of that does have to do with switching blends so that you'll have different additives to cut down on emissions in these larger cities. Because it all has to do with the evaporation rate of the fuel, and in the summer it has to be set at one evaporation rate, in the winter another, and that helps with emission
content of it. Yeah.
And I don't know if it helps the running of the vehicle or not, but
I did just think of one thing that may affect our fuel prices locally. Of course, is the big tournament coming up. But I don't know. Ron, you're out in Appleton, so that's a little ways away from that. I don't know if that's it or not.
Yeah. I know, guys, y'all need to watch your Easter eggs.
We're going to do it. All right.
Y'all be good.
Thanks, you, Ron. Okay, the number to call, 706-863-5800. If you have a question about your car, truck, or SUV, that's Saturday mornings, 8:05 to 10 Eastern, and where we're going.
Next up's Bill.
Hello, Bill, and welcome to the C&C Auto Show, and what can we help you with?
Hey, everything is all right, but I had a heck of a thrill ride a couple of days ago, and I wanted to see if y'all could help me pin down what caused the situation.
We will try our very best.
It was better than Six Flags. I tell you what, I was driving a rental, a good-looking, simple little compact. I think it was a Hyundai Accent, and it had about 40,000 miles on it. And you know how it is with a rental. You don't know all of the sounds and lights like you do your own car, so you're trying to figure things out as you go a little bit. And I'm tooling along on I-20 doing 65 to 70, nothing unusual, middle of the day. And I hear a tire start to whine, and seconds later, the tire explodes, unravels, whatever the word is. Came undone completely, and I saw a big chunk of black something flying off to the right on the shoulder.
Yeah.
And so naturally, I stepped off the gas, stepped on the brake, no brakes. So that was a thrill. Fortunately, I was out in the country, and I was able to hit an exit that did not have much traffic. So I hit the exit at coast speed, which was still about 40 miles an hour. That was exciting, and then managed to take it off on the shoulder and get help and get the tire replaced. Nobody hurt, no significant property damage. I was just wondering why, if you lose, in this case, your right rear tire, would the brakes fail, or was that just an unfortunate coincidence?
Bill, after you got the tire on it, were the brakes okay after that?
Well, I left it with the dealership, so I don't know. I'll have to call.
The only reason I say is, I mean, it's definitely possible that the tire part of the tread could have, of course, pulled one of the brake lines loose.
I have a theory.
All right, what you got?
It's just a theory. Now, the brake line is pretty good now.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yours is going to be way far-fetched, but go ahead.
Mine will be a little bit different, but yours might even be better than mine. That it hit a brake, that when the tire exploded, it ripped the brake line loose and brake fluid went everywhere.
Right.
And then, of course, your pedal went to the floor. That's a possibility.
But
the one I was thinking is, what if something, let's say that tire was starting to get low for a period of time, and it was building up excessive heat right there, and it got hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter, and then finally the brake fluid just started to boil, because the brake fluid does boil after a period of time, and then you would just have a huge amount of air in the system, and then the tire would blow, and then you, of course, hadn't been hitting your brakes until then.
Yeah.
And then you would find that you had no brakes when the tire did that.
And you said you were driving a Hyundai Accident?
There you go. That fits. Yeah, it was, like I said, a heck of a thrill ride, and it was for free.
But now we got two theories there to go with that we have to debate.
Yeah,
and figure
out.
Well,
I mean, I can debate it right now. That if that was the case, it'd melt the hubcap off the thing before that would happen. No, it's definitely possible for sure.
Yeah, one of those two, we would say, Bill.
All right, I appreciate it.
But the number one thing,
hey, Bill, real quick, let's ask about the brakes. So, what did the brakes do? They just, the pedal went straight to the floor like you had no hydraulic pressure, or what?
I stomped the brake naturally, and I don't recall having any feeling in it. It was almost like stepping on a brick.
Wow.
Oh, so the brake pedal was real hard then.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
That kind of throws both of ours out, doesn't it, Aaron?
Yeah. That's interesting, Bill.
Yeah. Yeah, it was interesting is a kind word to use. Yes, sir.
Well, number one thing, you're okay. That's what counts.
Yes, sir.
Number two thing, it's not your car.
And that's number two.
Amen. Yeah, and the rental folks were great and all ended well. But,
and you reacted perfectly.
High blood pressure.
Yeah, everything you did sounds perfect. Getting off the side of the road as quickly as you can, kind of getting away from traffic, steer away from where other things are. So that's great.
One thing to remember, Bill, is, of course, I understand the situation. It's really nerve-wracking, and it happens so quick. It's hard to remember this. But, of course, remember that you can use the emergency brake, too. A lot of times emergency brakes are mechanical and actually use a different set of shoes in some cases. Now, keep in mind, some are, of course, electronic parking brakes that will not help you. But, for instance, one with a simple handbrake, between the seats there in the console, of course, that would stop the vehicle,
and I don't know about you, but I like the feeling of knowing that there's something mechanical to where if all else fails, that I can grab and a cable pulls the brakes tight under that situation. But these electronic brakes, you're not able to just hit them and lock them up.
Yeah, because it sees wheel speed, so it actually limits that function.
Yeah, it does. Bill, you gave us a lot to talk about, man.
Thank you, sir. I'm glad to be able to talk about it.
Well, yes.
I think they kind of hid the name in that car, though.
Yeah, it was accidentally appropriate, no pun intended again.
Yeah. Thanks,
right.
Bill.
Appreciate y'all.
We thank you very much. And John Ryan, we didn't get to talk about the road rage deal that we talked about a little earlier.
Yeah.
What do you do if, let's say, you accidentally, either you don't take off from the light fast enough, or something happens and just somebody around you in a different car gets infuriated.
Okay.
I mean, they're a nutcase, and they start making these obscene hand motions to you, beating their dash, and they're really, you could tell that they're nuts.
I've got kind of the best answer for it. I'm a calm driver because I don't care. I'm just going to let them do whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
But this is how you stop them, or at least get their attention. Just pull your phone out and act like you're videoing them. Seriously.
That's good. Yeah. But really I tell you what, we're going to need to take a real quick break, and then we will go over that a little closer on some of the things a person can do if they get caught in a road rage type situation. We'll cover that, and plus we'll be ready to answer questions soon. We'll return with the C&C Auto Show. And we do want to welcome you back to the C&C Auto Show. And the number to call, 706-863-5800. Your spark plugs are one of the most important parts of the ignition system. And if they're worn pretty deeply or past due to be replaced, that could cause like a domino effect on a lot of the other ignition parts, like ignition coils and modules, and even computers can be affected by that. So if your plugs are due to be replaced and your normal maintenance tune-up may be due, I'd recommend going and having it done. And when you have it done, have the best plugs available, and that's the NGK spark plugs. They're built to specs and built to last. And we are ready to go to the calls. Where are we going?
Yep, let's go over to Cliff.
Fantastic. Hello, Cliff, and welcome to the C&C Auto Show. And what can we help you with?
Yes, sir. I got 3 questions for y'all.
We're ready.
I know y'all probably got good sales on tires all the time, but don't you do a mega sale, a really good sale on tires, automobile tires?
Yeah, we've had a lot of people asking us about that. And matter of fact, one person's been waiting for a couple of months. He needs tires, and he called the other day, and he said, when's the tire sale? We will have a meeting coming up soon and plan to do that. So getting close.
And you'll announce that on your show then?
No, it'll probably be on a commercial, yes.
Oh, okay. The reason I asked is I got some mega tires on there. I got 325s, and I've priced them. I can't find them nowhere in stock to start with. The cheapest like 180. But the tread pattern is excellent. I mean, I still got almost 50% left, but the tires are just cracked like crazy.
Yeah.
Inside the tread grooves or whatever you call it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Have you looked at your date code to see how old they are?
I did. It's 5/13, 5th week 13. 2013.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah, you push about 4 or 5 years old. So it probably would be a good idea, especially if you have some cracks. What's kind of strange, though, is you see some tires that's 4 or 5 years old that has very little cracking, and others that do, and a lot of it has to do with weather conditions and just the compound of the rubber.
Yep, absolutely.
But if you got cracking, it is time.
Well, too, if you have a 325 tire, it's probably an E-rated tire, which is a very hard compound, which do typically crack. Mm-hmm. More so than the softer compounds, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Really? Okay, I didn't know that. You get pretty large size tires on your truck, don't you?
We do, or yeah, I do. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
John Ryan, everything on that truck's large.
My last question is, I got rust up under the right rear passenger door, and I've told that's a common thing. I'm trying to look up the part, and I don't know actually what you would call that. It's on the body part behind the passenger door.
Is this a single cab, crew cab? So that'd be the rocker panel.
They call that a rocker. All right. If I buy that online, can I bring that to y'all? If I have everything out of the way, carpet, seats, and all, could y'all cut the old piece out and just tack weld that piece in, and then I'll take it and get the rest of it done?
Yeah, that would be a body shop type deal.
Repair,
and of course, Kendrick Paint and Body is a great one locally. Of course, if someone's listening to this and they're not in a local area and wondering where they may be able to go, just ask around about different body shops that you might go to and get some recommendations on things that you might be able to do.
Yeah, Cliff, that's actually, like Aaron said, it's more of a body shop type repair because there's actually a lot more into it than that. There's seam sealer back there. There's a lot of, it's not necessarily part of the structure of the vehicle, but of course the structure is behind it, and there's some process that you have to do to get that welded in and seamed up to where it's obviously seamless. So it's a pretty big process.
Yeah, and those guys that do that body work, they're almost like artists sometimes. When you see them doing all the things, I watch them repairing some of these vehicles so many times, and they just, there's so much thought process, and like you said, it's a lot more than just adding a part now. There's certain panels have to be glued along with welded, and just all sorts of different things that has to be done now in vehicles to keep the safety integrity.
They're more metal fabricators than they are repair areas.
Many times.
Is actually on both sides of the truck. Somebody told me that's a common thing for that particular year for some reason. But
Yeah,
I have seen that.
Yeah, we've seen that too. I don't know if it's where, a lot of moisture goes in, through the cab, through the rocker panels. Maybe it's not sealed 100% right there. And of course, anytime moisture's in there, it has a hard time getting out. So.
Oh, well, I'll just wait on that. But I got to get my tires. So I'll be waiting on y'all to sell because I know y'all do a really good one, like once or twice a year. And that's what I've been waiting on.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, gentlemen, y'all have a happy Easter, and
sir.
y'all have a great weekend.
Cliff, thank you. You have a fantastic weekend also. And we got time for one more quick covering.
All right,
type
what you
deal.
got?
Brakes fail. What do you do?
No
brakes.
No brakes.
None. Like
Give
happened
me
to
what
the
kind
other
of car?
We're
see if
in,
you can go that far.
We're in a 2007 Ford F-150.
2007 Ford
Brakes
F.
just
All
boom,
right,
no brakes.
So that's got a regular mechanical parking brake. So I'm gonna hold the lever out,
Uh-huh.
and then I'm gonna apply the brakes with the emergency brake.
That's a good thought. Yeah.
After I put it in neutral, that is.
Yeah. So after it's in neutral,
Yeah.
and then you start easing
Oh wait,
over.
but you said it was a F-150.
Yeah.
So it's already broke down, so it's not even running.
Oh man,
so
come on!
I don't really
now.
have to stop it. No, I'm just teasing you.
John Ron's a Chevrolet guy.
No, I actually like F-150s.
Yeah, they are beautiful,
They
beautiful
really are.
trucks. Yeah,
Yep.
love them. Okay, John Ryan, we are just about to run out of time. The time clock's on E, and we need to pull over for now. But we will be back on the road in no time. I'm Aaron Clements with co-host John Ryan Mooney. Our show producers are Dominic Frito and Sandy Klein. Our technical engineer is Zach Llewellyn, and we would all like to say thank you to all of you that tuned in, logged in, and especially that called in to ride with us on the C&C Auto Show.